I thought my husband was hiding an affair, but I never imagined the truth would destroy 3 generations of our family. The day everything changed started with something stupid. A school project. My 16-year-old son, Ethan, came home holding a paper about family ancestry. "Mom," he said, dropping his backpack near the kitchen island, "we're supposed to do a DNA kit for extra credit." I laughed. "Since when did high school turn into detective work?" He shrugged. "Everyone's doing it." At first, it felt harmless. Just a fun little project. A way to learn where our family came from. Irish roots. Maybe some Italian. Something boring. Nothing life-changing. At dinner that night, I brought it up to my husband, Mark. He barely looked up from his phone. "Sure," he muttered. "Sounds fun." Something about his tone felt strange. Not nervous. Not angry. Just uncomfortable. But after 17 years of marriage, you stop questioning weird moods. Or, at least, I did. 2 weeks later, the DNA results arrived. And Ethan screamed from upstairs. "Mom." I rushed into his room. "What happened?" He looked pale, like he'd seen a ghost. His laptop trembled in his hands. "This has to be wrong." I looked at the screen. At first, I didn't understand. Then my stomach dropped. Parent match unavailable. Under biological father. Unavailable. I frowned. "That's weird." Ethan swallowed hard. "It says Dad isn't my biological father." The room went silent. Completely silent. Like the whole world paused. "No," I whispered. "That's impossible." Because Ethan was our miracle baby. After years of trying. After fertility appointments. After tears. After heartbreak. He was finally born. Mark cried the first time he held him. Cried. I remembered it like yesterday. So this made no sense. I immediately blamed the company. Computer mistake. Wrong sample. Technical error. It had to be, right? That night, I confronted Mark. He looked frozen. Actually frozen. Like someone had turned him into stone. "Mark," I said carefully. "The DNA test says Ethan isn't yours." He didn't respond. Didn't blink. Didn't move. And suddenly, something terrifying hit me. Why wasn't he shocked? Why wasn't he yelling? Why wasn't he angry? Why did he look guilty? "Mark," I whispered. "Were you not telling me?" He stood up, walked to the kitchen sink, ran his hand over his face, and said something I still hear in nightmares. I hoped this would never come out. My entire body went cold. I stepped backward. "What does that mean?" He turned slowly, and what came next shattered everything. "When Ethan was born," he said quietly, "I already knew." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Knew what?" He looked down. "The doctor told me I couldn't have children." My chest tightened. "No. No. That wasn't possible." "You're lying." He shook his head. "I found out years before Ethan." The room spun. "Then why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked. "Because I thought you cheated." I stared at him, like he'd spoken another language. "What?" He swallowed hard. "When you suddenly got pregnant after years of trying." He paused. "I assumed there had been someone else." I felt physically sick. "Mark, I never cheated." He closed his eyes. "I know that now." But back then he stopped speaking. And that silence scared me more than anything. "What did you do?" He looked at me, tears in his eyes, and whispered, "I did my own investigation." My heart dropped. "What investigation?" He looked ashamed. "I hired a private investigator." I felt anger rising. "You what?" He nodded. "He followed you for months." Months. This man had secretly investigated me, instead of talking to me. And I asked bitterly, "What did he find?" Mark looked broken. "Nothing." Because there was nothing to find. He nodded slowly. "But by then Ethan was born. And his voice cracked. "I loved him." I couldn't understand what I was hearing. 17 years. 17 years of lies. "You knew he wasn't biologically yours." I whispered. "And never said anything?" He nodded. "I didn't want to lose my family." I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt terrified, because there was still one question no one could answer. If Mark wasn't Ethan's father, then who was? And that question haunted me. For days, I replayed every memory, every doctor appointment, every hospital visit, every fertility treatment, until suddenly, something clicked. Point one appointment, one clinic, one strange nurse who mixed up paperwork. I felt sick. Could it be possible?
No.
No way. But I called the fertility clinic anyway. And after weeks of pressure, they finally agreed to investigate. What they told me nearly destroyed me. 17 years earlier, there had been a mistake. A sperm sample mix-up. Human error. Someone else's biological material had been used. I nearly collapsed. You're telling me, whispered. My son was switched. The lawyer corrected me softly.
No.
Your son is yours. But biologically, his father is another patient. I couldn't breathe. Another man, some stranger, out there, who had no idea. Or maybe he did. Weeks later, we got a call. The biological father had been identified and wanted to meet. I expected chaos, anger, drama. Instead, a middle-aged man walked into the cafe, holding the exact same nervous smile Ethan had. Same eyes, same laugh, same posture. It felt unreal. His name was Daniel, and when Ethan walked in, they both froze, like mirrors. Daniel started crying instantly. I always wondered. He whispered, my wife and I were told our sample was lost. Nobody spoke. Nobody knew what to say. Because how do you explain that fate accidentally created another family? The hardest part wasn't meeting Daniel. It was watching Mark, the man who raised Ethan, the man who changed diapers, stayed up through fevers, taught baseball, helped with homework. He sat quietly, afraid Ethan would stop seeing him as dad. Then Ethan stood up, walked over, and hugged him.
Tight.
You're my dad, he whispered. No DNA test changes that. And for the first time in months, Mark cried, really cried. But the betrayal? It didn't disappear. Because trust once broken never returns the same. I wasn't betrayed by cheating
Or lies.
I was betrayed by silence,
By fear.
by secrets hidden for 17 years. And sometimes, the most painful betrayals come from the people trying hardest not to lose you. But tell me this, if you discovered your child wasn't biologically related to your partner after 17 years, would you tell the truth? Or protect the family?